That was an hour and a half, a lot to really take in. Strike. So Strike is a movie that was made in 1924. It is a Russian-made film, and it's basically about one of the strikes that took place during the Russian Revolution. Now, from what I've read about this time period, or maybe you have watched Oversimplified, you would know that in this time period there were a lot of strikes. Their factories were in horrible conditions. They worked for long hours, and they had terrible wages, and they were basically living in disease-ridden factories where their stuff can get stolen. It is just a complete mess what they were living in. And in the beginning of this movie, you can definitely tell that they are planning to have a strike and that they want their lives to be a whole lot better. Well, it didn't take long for the strike to happen. One guy in particular, just trying to work on his day, noticed that one of his key items, one of his tools, has been stolen. And upon trying to look for it, he's wondering how is he going to do his job without this tool. It would either mean he would have no pay for the next 3 weeks, or he would be fired. Actually, he would not be fired. Instead, they would actually accuse him on being a thief, that's exactly what the company owners did. And not wanting to live while being accused as a thief, he hangs himself, and that caused all the workers to finally drop what they're doing, break down the walls, and just basically go on strike. And at first, the strike is definitely a little bit chaotic. They are angry, they are upset, they are just running all over the place, and then they get to a spot where they start writing out their list of demands. They want better working conditions, better wages, and just make their lives a little bit more bearable. And the higher ups basically just use all their list of demands as napkins on one of their dinner parties. And for the rest of this movie, it's really hard to figure out what is going on, because this entire movie goes from, you would think that the very beginning is the most chaotic part of the entire film. No, that is the calm before the storm. I mean, this movie goes absolutely nuts. There are several moments in this movie where you don't even know what is going on. All you know that is just pure, complete chaos. It is just all over the place. And most of that chaos really do get disturbing. Like, for example, police officers are dropping kids off of buildings. That was hard to look at. You see these two cows get hit down, and then you see them cut their throats open, and I'm thinking, please tell me that is not a real cow. But then again, this is Russia, different movie making, so it could be real. But either way, it sticks in your head. There is a lot of violence and a lot of chaos that happens in this film that basically it's really difficult to even keep focus on what is going on. And for the most part, this movie is more or less a political film on how bad living conditions were under these higher ups, and that's why they had a revolution for communism and so on and so forth. But none of that was really brought in. It only had a little hint in the movie that the Bolsheviks were trying to push these strikes, but that's literally it. It just shows you how violent and how bad these strikes really were. I mean, these weren't just strikes with people holding up signs, saying their list of demands out loud, walking into a big circle. I mean, we're talking about running around, destroying things, looting, burning things down. It is complete chaos. It's like the year 2020 during the Summer of Love. Only difference is the police officers in this movie are just even more violent than the actual rioters themselves, or even the people on strike. Either way, this movie is not necessarily a family fun film. I would never call it a family fun film, and it's not necessarily an actual movie that I would consider to be watching again. No, it's just another political movie that I just saw once, and I do not plan to ever see it again. So I gotta say, Strike, it does show on how bad the working conditions and how bad the strikes got during the Russian Revolution. But then again, when it comes to severe violence, it's a little bit too much to grasp. But then again, it just makes me want to ask myself, what were the actual conditions when these strikes happened? I mean, when this movie was made, I'm pretty sure a lot of people in Russia would remember exactly what these strikes are, and it could either be a mirror image of what they saw, or it could just all be fan fiction. But either way, I would have to say this movie was good for the time, but nowadays, it's more or less, no one's gonna hate you if you skip it. So guys, Strike, have you seen it? What did you think of it? Whatever you thought, comment them down below. Also, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and share my videos as much as possible so I can finally get monetized enough to challenge other reviewers to do the exact same challenge. And I'll see you in the next video.